Wauchula isn't the kind of town you just stumble upon by accident. Way off the beaten path, square in the middle of our state, a picture of small-town America. A place built around family, faith, and football.
The Wildcats have taken over.
Oh, what a Friday night we're having.
And it was a Friday night back in 2001 that tested the faith of one family. Just a few miles down the road, an accident this community would never forgive. Nona Moore, who had grown up in Wauchula, was driving home with her 3 daughters. Nona Moore's sisters remember the night they got the call.
But there's been a terrible accident.
When we got out there finally and parked, it looked like daylight because there were so many floodlights out there. There were, I don't know, 100 people.
The driver of a truck loaded with tomatoes lost control, crossed the center line, and rolled on top of the family van.
And I was sleeping until we got here, and then I heard like horns beeping and going crazy horns, and my mom was screaming. The last thing I remember was her saying, "Jesus help us, we're gonna crash."
Thanks to quick work by paramedics, 2 of the girls, Haley and Ashley, survived. But Nona Moore and her 8-year-old daughter, Lindsay, died at the scene. 2 crosses marked the spot. A family and a town were left heartbroken.
I think the community, they lost 2 precious people that they loved, and they felt like someone had to pay.
That someone? This man, the truck driver, Jean-Claude Muse, an outsider, an immigrant from Haiti. Prosecutors filed charges, 2 counts of vehicular homicide.
We were in disbelief.
Rebecca Chenoweth is engaged to marry Jean-Claude Muse.
You know, we thought that they would at least see that it was an accident. There was no justification in it.
So what convinced investigators that this was more than just a tragic accident, that the trucker's actions were criminal? He wasn't on drugs, he hadn't been drinking, and he wasn't speeding. They say hours after the wreck, he fell asleep in the back of a patrol car and concluded he must have fallen asleep at the wheel.
All right.
The truck driver was tried in Wauchula's small county courthouse. The verdict? Guilty. The sentence? 15 years in a maximum security prison. Almost unheard of for simply falling asleep at the wheel.
There are people who have had DUI manslaughter and not got the time they got. I mean, literally drunk, killed lots of people, and did not get that kind of time.
Time for a crime built on one simple argument. The trucker was running on too little sleep. But is that what really happened that Friday night? Were you tired? Did you fall asleep?
No, I do not fall asleep.
And the trucker has never changed his story. He says the accident happened because a white car cut him off. He swerved to avoid a crash, but lost control and tipped over on the Moore's van.
I was the one called the police. I was there. I don't leave the scene.
Muse says he was not sleepy at all, just disoriented and confused after hitting his head on the windshield. He says he had slept 10 hours before the wreck and has the paperwork to back it up.
I wasn't doing anything reckless. That caused the accident.
Should the man who was driving the truck that killed your sister and killed your niece be sitting in prison?
No.
No? Really?
Absolutely not. An accident is an accident.
Nona Moore's sisters became convinced Jean-Claude Muse did not fall asleep after meeting with him in prison. Even the girls who were in the van that night had a change of heart. You forgive him?
Yes, I forgive him.
But they say there was no way for him to get a fair trial in Wauchula because emotions were running high.
I heard people were high-fiving each other as they were doing jury selection.
Why? Why do you suppose that is?
I think they wanted to burn him.
It took a jury from this small town less than an hour to find Muse guilty of vehicular homicide.
They had to channel their anger somewhere. But I believe they truly meant well, but they didn't think of the consequence or how severe it might be for him, for Jean-Claude.
Her sisters say Nona Moore would not want Muse in prison, but prosecutors wouldn't listen.
They pretty much told me to stop calling.
When prosecutors turned them away, the victim's family turned to us for help. We went to prison to interview Muse.
This is the best country in the world. People can look and see justice. They can see injustice. somebody would step up and help me.
We'd come back to prison 3 more times over the next few years. We also dug through the court records during that period and the evidence compiled by the Florida Highway Patrol and found, among other things, this critical piece of evidence: a diagram of the accident used to convince the jury that Muse fell asleep at the wheel. But that diagram did not fit the real measurements at the scene. It was not to scale. Did the lead investigator for FHP get it wrong? Well, it turns out this key piece of evidence, the diagram, was never intended to be 100% accurate. This diagram is just an approximation.
That's correct.
We weren't allowed to interview Owen Keene, the lead investigator, who we learned went to high school with Nona Moore. Instead, FHP gave us spokesperson Doug Dotson. With 2 people dead, a truck driver looking at hard time in prison, don't you think a scale diagram is essential?
Not necessarily. No, I do not. I mean, you don't necessarily need a scale drawing to prove what happened. I mean,
You're comfortable with what you have?
Most definitely.
Really?
Yes.
Their own diagram doesn't stand up to the physical evidence.
Wiley Howe is a traffic reconstruction expert with more than 25 years' experience. He volunteered to examine the case and took all the physical evidence directly from the FHP report, the very same pictures and measurements, and did a full-scale reconstruction. Howe says it proves the FHP diagram, which shows Muse running straight off the road, the way someone would if he were asleep, was all wrong. The way that your flags are set up, you can see that he started to negotiate the turn there. It's not a straight line.
No.
Which tells you what?
He was awake. He was actually reacting to something else that was in the roadway.
Howe's opinion lined up with what Muse told troopers the night of the crash, that he was awake and trying to avoid an accident when he lost control of his semi.
The diagram is very, very deceiving. It's not to scale. It's not correct. So it gives you the illusion that this person, if you wanted to say he was asleep, it'd be easy to convince somebody he was asleep.
Like a jury.
Like a jury.
Corporal Keene went to high school with Nona Moore. Did that affect the way he drew the diagram?
Absolutely not. I mean, let's face it. We've done these cases time and time again, and I think I told you this before. We take this very seriously.
And so did the FHP troop commander, Rebecca Tharp. Fox 13 obtained emails Tharp sent after seeing our stories, asking for a team of experts to take a second look at the evidence and reconstruct the accident. But 3 weeks after she wrote the emails, Tharp, a 26-year veteran, was fired. She would later say at Muse's hearing she believed her views on the case played a role in her termination. And jurors told us they were also having second thoughts. Did the prosecution prove that he was asleep?
No, I don't think so.
They didn't want us to show their faces, but told us they were now rethinking their verdict, especially after we uncovered a new witness, one never interviewed by FHP.
Me and my buddy were the first ones here.
Juan Otero, a volunteer firefighter, just happened to be driving by the accident, and he saw Muse climb out of his cab. Did he seem alert when he got out?
Most definitely, he was alert. To me, it was a simple, honest-to-God accident.
Muse's attorney, John Trevina, used all the evidence that we uncovered, Wiley Howe, the flawed diagram, and the new witness, Juan Otero, as the basis for a new appeal.
Obviously, this is an adversarial proceeding. The court's concerned more with the search for the truth.
Do you think about the day that you'll walk out?
Yes. The day I walk out, it'll be a nice day. Maybe you'll be here.
Oh, you know we will.
I appreciate that.
And this time, in the same Wauchula courtroom where the jury found him guilty, a judge threw out his conviction and set him free.
Oh, baby.
I love you, baby.
How does it feel, though? You're free.
Yeah, I feel good. There's a lot of good people in Wauchula. I don't want people to think it's all bad people here.
You hugged me, but I think there's some people that you probably want to hug over there, huh?
Exactly. That's what I was looking for. Yes.
The sun has set 1,000 times since John Claude Muse went to prison. He never stopped believing that one day he would watch it rise again as a free man.